everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you a preview, a Kickstarter preview of Beast's Edge of Extinction. Now this is a 2 to 6 player game from Riftway Games. It is basically each player is a kind of prehistoric beast that is, as you might expect, on the edge of extinction, and you're trying to survive, be the last one standing. You're all gonna be fighting, you're gonna be eating food, you're gonna be luring each other into traps, and you know what? Let's get right down to the table, and I will show you how this game is played. All right, so here's generally what a 4-player setup will look like. Each player has their own beast, which is, as you might expect, on the edge of extinction. There are 2 others to choose from. You can see the Arctidus and the Sabertooth here. This game plays up to 6 players at one time. We've got the Terror Bird, the Daeodon, the Titan Boa, and the Direwolf here. Also on the cards, you'll find this is their health along the side here. Every beast has its own special ability that can be triggered once per game, that can be used once per game. And over here you've got resistances. So in this case, the Terror Bird has no resistance either way to physical damage. It is actually less resistant to cold damage and more resistant to heat damage. And then also every beast has their own attack die. So at the beginning of the game, players will each draw 3 resources, and they can get stuff like attack or meat for food and another resistance card. So everybody gets 3 of these. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so now everybody's got their 3 starting cards, and in this case, no one triggered any instant actions. But let's say that, instead of this meat, let's say that hadn't gotten drawn, and instead the Direwolf had drawn this rabid dodo. Anytime an instant action is drawn, whether it's this initial draw at the beginning of the game or any draw during the game, instant actions trigger immediately, and you'd have to resolve what it says on the card. In this case, they had rolled to defend. If the Direwolf rolled a 1 through a 4, it would take that amount of damage, of physical damage. Otherwise, if it rolled a 5 or 6, then the Direwolf could give this to another player, and then that player would have to resolve it. And once it did get resolved, it would go into the discard pile right there. So let's say the Direwolf roll a 2. Okay, so it would take 2 physical damage, and you can see here that it has no resistance to physical damage, so it would just drop down to an 18. All right, now players are ready to begin playing, and so the Terror Bird's the first player. Let's say the very first thing that happens at the beginning of each round, a round being everybody gets 1 turn. Also here at the very beginning of the game, is the beginning of a round, is you draw an event card. And so in this case, it's a trap. And all players have become trapped. Roll a 4 or higher to escape. Your first roll is free, and each additional roll exhausts 1 action point. After 3 unsuccessful rolls, your turn is lost, and you lose 3 health. So each player would do that on their turn. I suppose really events are supposed to be resolved immediately, so you would do it at the beginning, right after that gets pulled, and then you would know whether or not you have any action points left. On a player's turn, so let's say this is resolved and everybody managed to successfully get out of the trap. Each player has 2 action points on their turn. There's lots of different things that a player could do with action points. One is she could just draw an extra card that's called scavenging. This is the resource deck is where you scavenge, and then she would add that to her hand. Another thing that she could do is eat. So if the Terror Bird had lost some health, you could spend 1 action point and then eat every edible thing in her hand. So in this case, you get 3 life back, and once you eat it, it goes into the discard pile. Another thing that she could do is equip. Again, 1 action point would equip every equipable item, in her hand. So if it was, you got the attack card here, and it goes like that, and the resistances go like this, where the resistances all line up. So now the Terror Bird would actually have 3 fire resistance instead of just 2, and +1 attack. And let's see, what are some other things? The other things that could be done with action points is on a player's turn, they could lure a player. So in this case, you see lure a player onto thin ice to take 5 cold damage. A player that lures another player can play this on any player that he wants to. And so for instance, if, I saw that the Terror Bird here has -1 cold resistance. So the Titan Boa might play this on the Terror Bird, and so then it's 5 cold damage, but the -1 resistance means it's actually going to be 6 cold damage. And so then the Terror Bird, would take that, would take that cold damage and drop down to 14 health from 20. All right, so then players can also attack, and attack is very, very simple. It's just one play, the attacking player, so let's say the Terror Bird's attacking, the attacking player rolls the die, rolled a 5, plus 1 attack from the equipped attack there, that's 6, and let's say the Terror Bird was attacking the Daeodon. Daeodon rolls for defense, gets a 1, so 6 minus 1 is 5, the Daeodon takes 5 damage. All right, so the interesting thing with attacking is there is no equipable defense, right? Now, one thing that can be done, and let's search through here real quick. Let me just find. So while there's no equipable damage, if players collect dodos, you can see right here. So in this case, you could eat a dodo to regain 1 health, sacrifice 4 1 new resource card. So you sacrifice dodo, draw another resource. And that doesn't cost an action point, or provide a one-time defense bonus per dodo if you have 3 or more. So you have 3 dodos, and you can see the Savage Dodo main difference is it's not edible. You can still sacrifice it for a new resource card, and you get the one-time defense bonus. So if a player collects 3 dodos and then gets attacked, she can discard the 3 dodos, and that acts as 3 defense. And obviously, if she had more dodos, that would continue acting as more and more defense. So again, there's no equipable defense. You can throw dodos in the way to provide defense, but there is equipable attack. And you can see here the Daeodon's got 3 attack that he could equip right now on his turn if he wanted to. So while the defense is always going to be up to a roll or up to what you have stored up in your hand, the attack gets more and more effective as you draw attack cards. And so, if the Daeodon had these 3 attacks here equipped, then the Daeodon's guaranteed at this point to always have a 4 or higher when he attacks, whereas the Terror Bird right here is guaranteed only a 2 or higher, and the Dire Wolf and the Titan Boa could roll 1s every time. And so there is that element of getting these attacks equipped and trying to make sure that your attack is effective, because really early on in the game, attacking might not be worth it so much because it's just a die roll. So that's kind of interesting there, that as it goes along, you can get more and more powerful and more guaranteed to deal some serious damage. The final thing that players could do is, if let's say that. Let's draw a couple more resources real quick. So let's say that we got a Savage Dodo over here, and maybe the Titan Boa is really trying to collect dodos, and so he sees that the Daeodon's got this dodo, and he's like, hey, you know what? I'll trade you. I'll give you this cold resistance card for your Savage Dodo. If the Daeodon agrees, then the Titan Boa uses one of his action points on his turn to initiate that trade, and they trade him out, and they're good to go. And really, that is pretty much all there is to the game in terms of rules. The game basically just goes around in rounds. Every time a round is completed, a new event card is drawn. Here's another one, Woolly Mammoth. Multiply the number of players by 4, in this case 16. All players roll. If the combined roll is equal to or greater than, in this case 16, all players regain 5 health. If the combined roll is lower, all players take 5 physical damage. So, in that case, we're teaming up to fight this Woolly Mammoth and take it down. So these events keep coming out, and a lot of these can be pretty brutal, and they're really the great equalizer in this whole thing, because what I've found is that even if not a whole lot of damage is going in between the players, which usually there's a decent amount, but even if it's not, the event cards make sure that the health keeps getting chipped away. Once a player hits 0 health, they're done for the game, and you just keep going, and eventually there'll be just one person left, and that's the winner. It is also technically possible due to events that everybody could die, in which case no winners. And I'll show you this. So this is obviously the rules that came with this prototype copy. There's additional scenarios down here. You can see 7 days to diet, 7 event cards, remove all food, dodos, and double dodos. Highest health after 7 rounds wins. Smorgasbord, 10 event cards, add up each player's remaining health and food after 10 rounds, highest score wins. Not so special. No special abilities can be used. Keep all cards in play, but no food can be eaten. Start the game. Each player has 10 health. And instead of rotating clockwise, all players use their action points simultaneously. So some different things to kind of change up how it all goes down. Let's go back up to the top. Okay, so that is Beast Edge of Extinction. Now this game is going to be going up on Kickstarter a little bit later this year. Check the description for the exact date. If I have that date yet, I'll be putting it in there. One thing that I'll say about the game is that it really does seem like it's something that you can, it takes 5 minutes to explain it. If that, everything is pretty straightforward as far as how the cards work. Something that, you know, you could use as a game at the beginning or end of the night, you know, kind of a filler game to get to either get the night started, or if you just want something quick and fun and, you know, fast and furious to play at the end of the night, just kind of I don't know, you know, to wash the taste of those heavy euros out of your mouth or whatever it is that your group likes to play. This one could definitely be a lot of fun. It's just kind of crazy fun with damage being thrown all over the place, and you know, you draw those event cards and a meteorite hits, and you know, all of a sudden people are dropping 5 points of health at a time, and it could be a lot of fun that way. And like I said, the box says 45 minutes. I have not seen it hit 45, even come close to 45 minutes. So I guess maybe if people really get, maybe the trading, if people really get into trying to wheel and deal like that, maybe it could extend the game that way. But for me, it's been much more of a 20-minute game. And I think it works really well like that for me and the people that I'd be playing with. If you're interested in this at all, check the link in the description below. And like I said, it'll be going up in about a month or so, I believe. Towards the end of October, I think is when this is going to be showing up, possibly beginning of November. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.